Today I want to ask you, do you have a love-hate relationship with the thought of retiring? Are the people around you, like at your work, are they starting to think about retirement, or have a lot of your colleagues already gone and you're sitting there going, I'm ready, but I'm a little worried. I'm concerned about retirement. And if that's you, this video is just for you. I'm done climbing the ladder, but I don't know if I'm ready to retire yet. And let's talk about some of those fears, some of those things that come up. Retirement is kind of a beautiful thing, right? When you thought about working, the whole point of working was, number one, to provide for your lifestyle, right? It was to pay all the bills and let you do the things that you want to do. But the second piece of working so hard was so that you could have this day, that this day would come when you wouldn't have to work anymore, that you could retire and that your finances were set. That was part of the point of working. It was a secondary point. And so now you're here. You've kind of lost some of that passion for work. Like, you've done everything and you feel good about it, but you're feeling that completeness, right? And you're looking around at your other friends and your colleagues and going, okay, they're moving on. I'm ready. But you feel that anxiety, right? You feel it come up and you're like, I don't know. So what are some of those things going on? Well, the first one is that your identity, you're a high achieving woman and you've built this identity. And are you really ready to let that go? Like, who are you if you're not this person, if you don't have this title? For me, I was running a department. I had 11 staff. And it was like, if I go and I'm not a leader anymore, and I'm not tied into my industry, I'm not a professional anymore. I think that was the big thing, feeling like I wasn't a professional once I left. And is that one of those things that's really bothering you? Is like, what is your identity? Are you going to go around and tell people I'm a retiree? Like, retirees are old people, right? Like, you're not old. You have so much to give. And yet going from professional to retiree just feels like a huge slide back, doesn't it? Like, that's not what you want, but you're not going to identify by those titles anymore if you're no longer in a career. And I think that's a lot of the issue that a high achieving woman like yourself has, is who am I if I'm not this person and I don't want this other label, this retiree label just doesn't fit. So that's one big question. And I just want you to be aware that these are some of the things that maybe you haven't verbalized yet, but are really what's affecting you. The second issue that comes up a lot is this feeling, this pressure to find meaning, right? Like, if I'm done with this career, like when you were working and you're still working, you have this collective purpose, right? The people around you, you're all striving for something, whether it's the success of your company or if it's your own business, it's still that success that you have a common mission and everybody's working on that mission, and you feel the purpose and the meaning, and you're taking care of your people, right? You have your staff and you're really making sure that they're taken care of. You have your clients and you're making sure that everything that they want is being addressed. So you have a lot of purpose and a lot of meaning. And if that all goes away, then you kind of step into this new phase of like, well, what's the meaning? Why am I getting up? And this was one I really felt was like, why am I getting up in this the day? Like, what's my purpose? What's my goal? What's my project? What am I going after? And projects of retirees don't seem meaningful to you, right? So you're afraid of that blank calendar, right? Of waking up and saying, I have nothing on my plate that's meaningful. Like, running errands is not meaningful. So there's that big fear of, well, number one, who am I? But number two, what am I doing as I move into retirement? What's my day like? What's my purpose? And then the third thing that really might be kind of flashing in your mind, and I know this is from a lot of people I've talked to, is fear of boredom, right? We're talking about that blank calendar. It's like, what am I going to fill my time with? Let alone meaning, but just in general, you've done so much. Like, when you look at your day right now, it's jam-packed, right? And there's so much that you're filling your day with. Well, if all that work stuff goes away, it's almost like a vacuum. It's like pulling. It's like, oh my God, I have all this blank space. What am I going to do? And do you also feel that little bit of, me time right now is something you fight for, right? You work so hard so that you have your evenings or your weekends or your vacation, and those times are sacred and you really enjoy them. And if it's now the norm, like if every day is me day, if every day is Saturday, well, what am I going to do? And so you can see where these fears come from. You're a high achieving woman. You're used to being in charge. And if you have nobody to be in charge of, you don't have an identity, you've got this blank schedule, what am I going to do? And you kind of, as much as you want to leave the hustle behind, having an easy life doesn't feel right. So that's the quandary. And what I want to say to you is, what if retirement is easy but still meaningful? What if easy is a good thing? Like, you've been working so hard so that this finish line would come up where you could then take it easy. And you feel it in your soul, right? A part of you is craving ease. Like it's craving some peace. It's craving some space. You're like, I've been at this pace for so long. But then there's this other part of you that says, but if I don't have this, what am I going to do with myself? And so I want to offer you a few suggestions. In talking with clients and talking with my friends too, there's a lot, we're all at the same age. We all have gotten into retirement. And I want you to flash back a little bit real quick. Remember when you graduated college and you weren't really sure what you were going to do, or if it wasn't you, like all your friends, like you all went after, you got these degrees, graduated. I know I graduated and came home and you didn't know what you're going to do. And if you look at your kids, are they in that same boat where you've graduated and they have absolutely no idea? With the exception of a few people like doctors and lawyers who have very specific degrees. I graduated with a communication degree, right? So I got out of college and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I started waitressing, right? Because that's what everybody does. You just find any job to get some income coming. And I wound up in the meeting professional field as an event planner and a meeting planner. I didn't go to school for that. It just kind of something I stumbled into. I mean, it wasn't even, when I was in college, that wasn't a career path. That wasn't a degree. It's become more formalized since then. But at the time, nobody knew what a meeting planner was. And that's what my job was. Your career kind of found you, right? You didn't necessarily come out knowing exactly what you were going to do. You just kind of fumbled around. And same with all the people around you. Like everybody was just kind of figuring it out and you got there. Well, you did it before. Can't you do it again? So as you step into retirement, instead of being something you fear, can it just be like, I don't really know what's going to happen, but it's going to find me. It's going to work out. Life always works out. You don't have to go into this as a panic mode, and you don't have to have a plan. Like the first thing I tell people to do when they first retire is like, just for the next month, don't do anything. Like just chill. Let the blank space happen. And just love that feeling of getting up in the morning and having coffee and thinking about all those poor suckers who are in traffic driving to work. And you're not one of them. One of my favorite things was to go to Starbucks at like 9:15, 9:30 and just be like, I'm not working. Like I look around the rest of the world and you can see people doing their job and I'm free. And that's why I really want you to focus on that. Instead of the loss of an identity, focus on gaining freedom. Like what a cool feeling is that, just to be like, I am free. I did it. That accomplishment of, wow, I crossed the finish line. I set myself up for retirement. I am now at this stage where I can retire and I can be free to do anything. And sometimes that freedom comes with a fear. And that's probably what you're feeling is, I'm free to do anything, but now everything's a possibility. It's a little bit like, what do I do? I'm just overwhelmed. That's one of the things that I do with my coaching is I really help you fine tune that. Like, what does that freedom mean? And how do we now take that to the next level? So as you're into your second act, it's now time for you to call the shots. Where before you had a common purpose, you shared it with other people. Now that purpose is solely your purpose. What do you want to do? And that's freedom, but that's also a new kind of responsibility. It's a fun kind of responsibility though. Responsibility was always so heavy, right? When you were working, you were responsible. You made sure your staff was taken care of and your clients. And now it's just making sure you're taken care of. What a concept. People, it just blows their mind. Like freedom and responsibility is now about taking care of you and what fills you up. And there's a couple different directions you can go once you're starting on this path. And that's what I help you find. And I find that us, if you're a ruler, if you're that ruler archetype, we're very, very driven to that identity. And I think that's the biggest thing, that when you're moving from the identity of whatever your professional career is to this new identity that is not going to be a retiree, but is what is this? There's a couple paths that you're going to be open to. And I want to highlight some of those. So I had one friend who, when she retired, she was just driven by homeless causes. She really wanted to help the homeless. And so she went out and got a volunteer role that eventually turned into a paid role that she's now retiring from and is now going back into strictly volunteer. But she always had these projects that were related. So she was doing multiple things at the same time related to a passion of hers, which was providing for the homeless and taking care of them and giving them some attention and serving their needs. And that was something so driven that she just always had, but she was never able to really get the time to fully commit to dive into deeply. And if you have a passion, now is the time. And if you don't, like that was me, like I didn't have a real cause like that to go after something that was really, really passionate in that regard. So for me to find another job was like, no, I don't want to do that. But for her, this was a whole second act that was such a deep, rich contribution that it was never about the money. It was always about how can I serve? And she just wound up serving so much that they offered to pay her. But that's an avenue you can go. I have another friend who took a totally different approach. So again, very high achieving woman, but when she moved into retirement, she said, no, I really want to focus on being the best me. And for her, that meant improving her golf game. It meant taking up pickleball to the point where she's now an instructor, and she's certified to teach, and she runs fundraisers and things using pickleball as their platform. So she went in a totally different angle, but she didn't know when she retired that she was going to become this pickleball go-to person. So you don't know where it's going to go, but it could be a personal growth path, or it could be a path after that passion that you just always wanted. Or you could do the third path, which is the path I took, which was, how do I really want to serve? Like, what is something that I was passionate about for myself that I now want to share with others? And for me, that was that high ripple, that high energy, and teaching people how energy, that currency that I call your second act currency, how energy drives so much of what you do. And I really want people to understand that, and to understand the archetypes that they have, and how tying energy and archetypes together really gives you that passion and purpose for your second act. So that's all that I do, is help people find what they're going to do in that second act and help that spark light up. So there's lots of different paths you can take. And you may have heard, there's always the horror story. There's one colleague one of my volunteers that I work with, and he was lost in retirement. He was so lost. He left, and instead of having someone guide him, he just tried to fumble along, and he actually went back to his employer to try to get his job back. He was so miserable. He's like, I'm really struggling in retirement. I don't know what to do. And he just was finding one unsatisfactory volunteer opportunity after another. And I don't want that for you. That's the whole purpose of my coaching, is you don't need to flounder. You have so many clues left on your path. If you had the ability to look backwards and start to see, here's all those clues of things that you want to do, that you could pursue in retirement, that would light you up, that were either on a personal growth path, or a path of service, or a path of passion. Like, there's 3 different paths right there. One of them is going to light you up. And that's what I do with the archetypes when I really study your energy, like what drains you and what energizes you. And then also who you are, not in terms of your career, but in terms of your soul. We start to look at that. We can really come up with a path that very much excites you, and you don't need to fear retirement. So the question I want you to journal today is, what if retirement was easy? What would that look like? What if my purpose found me? What would that look like? What would find me? And I want you to just take some time and journal on that today, because I really feel that you've worked so hard. You deserve to cross this finish line, but deserve to cross it excited and passionate for what's next, because it's a beautiful, beautiful place to be. I don't identify as a retiree. For me, again, as a ruler, I needed to have some kind of identity that definitely wasn't a retiree. So I identify as a coach. But you could identify as that person who drives herself for the best in life. So you could just say, you know what, I am just me. And you could drop the label, as my friend did, who's going after the pickleball and the golfing. And she's like, I'm after a personal excellence. That's who I am. And so when she talks to people, she talks about her passions. She doesn't identify as any particular label, I am just happy to be alive. Who am I? I am just this happy, passionate person who goes out and lives her day really enjoying her skills and trying to push herself to be the best of what she wants. So what a beautiful blessing that you get to choose this. You get to choose if you apply a label or not, but you don't have to choose that retiree label. So if you're afraid of that, let's throw it away. If you're afraid of the blank calendar, let's let that go, because it is beautiful. There is so much space. Less can very much be more. Having less on your calendar, more room to just sit and look out the window, and to provide the skills that you've learned to maybe somebody else who's coming up. Maybe your path is going to lie in mentorship, but not in a very structured way, but in a very freeing way. Like, who knows what's possible for you? There's so much out there for you to do. You just haven't had the time and space to see that, because what you see is the AARP commercials. And no, that's not what retirement has to be. You can be a whole second life. You can have this passionate next chapter blow away your first chapter. I mean, you were a high achieving woman. You've done some great things. But what if this next chapter was easier and more rewarding than your first chapter? Wouldn't that be worth going after? Let's get together. Take 2 assessments. I have them down below. They're free. Take those assessments and let's see what we can do, because I'm going to give you a free report And I'm going to actually show you where some of those clues are. I'm going to help you find some of those clues and give you some journal questions that say, okay, looking at what you've put on these assessments, looking at who you are at your soul level, here's some things I want you to think about. And that will help prompt you on that second act journey. So fill out those assessments and really let's do this together because there's so many cool things in store for you. So I want you to not be afraid of retirement. What if retirement was easy? Wouldn't that be cool? So I'll talk to you next time.